The sun rose over the ancient battlefield, painting the sand in shades of gold and crimson. A light breeze carried the smell of iron and sweat, whispers of battles long past. But today was not just any battlefield, it was a lesson in time. For in this place, modern minds would witness the habits of ancient warriors and discover the keys to winning in any age. Commander Navarro adjusted his tactical vest, checking every strap, every pocket. His elite team, trained in stealth, precision, and rapid response, stood ready behind him. They were the pinnacle of modern military skill, silent, calculated, lethal. Each operator carried weapons that could pierce walls, armor, and time itself. But as the shadow unit surveyed the horizon, a strange vibration filled the air. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't digital. It was ancient, primal, almost alive. Sand lifted from the dunes without wind, as if the earth itself was preparing for something monumental. Navarro's instincts screamed caution, but curiosity pushed him forward. His operators followed, disciplined as always, moving with a grace learned from years of repetition. In their minds, every action, every habit had a purpose. Precision was not just skill, it was survival. And soon, they would see that the same was true for the warriors of the past. A sudden light pulsed in the distance, a living, vibrant shimmer, almost like heat waves dancing over a desert horizon. Then silence fell, a silence so deep it seemed to erase thought itself. When the operators regained their senses, the world had changed. The sun still burned overhead, the sand still resisted their boots, but the air smelled different: iron, sweat, wood smoke. The tracks beneath their feet were no longer from tires or modern boots. They were heavy, deliberate, and marked by sandals. From the distance, voices shouted, not Spanish, not Arabic, but Latin. Navarro scanned the horizon with thermal binoculars, but no heat signatures appeared beyond human shapes. Hundreds, then thousands, marched with precision, their formation unbroken. They were ancient warriors, alive with discipline, training, and habits honed over years of survival. Each movement, each shout, each step carried purpose. Navarro had faced enemies before, but never like this. Not a reenactment, murmured Delgado, one of the operators, eyes wide. This is real. And it was. The shields gleamed, polished as if for ceremony. Red crests danced in the wind. Golden eagles, lions, and symbols of legions lost to time rose proudly on banners. The cadence of sandals on sand was hypnotic, a rhythm centuries in the making. The operators felt the weight of history pressing down on them. Modern weapons were powerful, yes, but against a force trained in habit, endurance, and strategy, they would need more than firepower. They would need understanding. Navarro signaled, and the team took up positions. Each operator knew their role: sniper covering the ridge, demolition expert ready, assault team scanning the horizon. Their weapons were cutting edge, but their minds followed ancient principles: discipline, patience, focus. They were modern soldiers applying timeless habits. The Roman legion approached. Shields locked like gears, spears pointed, formation flawless. Their general, Lucius Aurelius Gracchus, rode at the front, assessing the terrain, commanding without panic. Navarro noted the precision, the unwavering order, the rituals of preparation. Every legionnaire had a habit that made them effective: shield drills, spear exercises, synchronized marching. Every habit ensured survival, dominance, and cohesion. Navarro whispered, "Notice their routines. Every habit, every drill. They repeat it until it becomes instinct." The modern soldiers opened fire. Bullets tore through the front line, shields shattered, men fell. But the Roman order persisted. When one warrior fell, another immediately filled the gap. Discipline, repetition, and preparation allowed them to endure. They were an embodiment of centuries of learned habits. Delgado adjusted his aim. "They're relentless." "Yes," Navarro replied. "But so are we, if we apply our habits wisely." The Shadow Unit realized a key truth. Modern technology gave them power, but habits gave the Romans endurance. The ancient warriors had trained their minds and bodies to perform under stress, fatigue, and fear. They had habits that transformed exhaustion into precision, chaos into order, panic into calm. As the battle intensified, Navarro's team used tactics inspired by observation, improvisation, and ancient strategies. They learned quickly. Keep calm, choose targets, retreat when needed, strike decisively. Habits were the bridge between eras. One operator noted, they anticipate, adapt, repeat. Every time we push, they adjust. Yes, Navarro said. That's habit. Not just training, but a mindset cultivated over years. It's why they endure. The Romans advanced with ballistas, ancient siege machines that launched massive projectiles with precision. Each bolt was aimed at the shadows of the modern soldiers, forcing them to adjust. But the operators, trained in adaptability, used movement and observation habits to evade destruction. Navarro saw the lesson clearly. The power of habits was timeless. Discipline in preparation, consistency in practice, and focus under pressure. These were the secrets of the past that could define success today. The Shadow Unit deployed a tactical trap, a simulated forgotten backpack with explosives. Roman curiosity drew them in. The explosion tore through the ranks, scattering men and banners. Chaos ensued, yet the legion quickly reformed. Habits of recovery, training, and leadership ensured they remained a force. Navarro noted the most important habit: resilience. The ancient warriors absorbed setbacks, recovered, and continued. Modern soldiers could destroy, but sustaining advantage required the same resilience, the same repeated habits of preparation, focus, and adaptation. As the team withdrew to safer ground, Navarro reflected. Our habits, our preparation, our discipline, that's what allows us to survive. Today we saw a mirror of ourselves in them, across centuries. From that distance, modern soldiers could see the truth. Victory wasn't just weapons, wasn't just firepower. It was habits. It was discipline, training, and the consistency to act when chaos threatened. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over a battlefield where past and present collided. The operators of the Shadow Unit had survived, but more importantly, they had learned. Ancient warriors' habits were not relics. They were lessons for modern life. Every habit of focus, every practice of endurance, every ritual of preparation could make the difference between winning and losing. And as the first night fell over the desert, Navarro whispered to his team, "Remember this. Our habits define us. Today, history taught us how to win tomorrow." Night had fallen over the desert, but the battlefield was alive with lessons etched in sand and sweat. Navarro's team moved quietly, their instincts honed from years of repetition. Yet each step reminded them that the ancient warriors' habits were just as relevant now. "Observe everything," Navarro whispered to his team. "The habits of these men, timing, endurance, recovery, they are what make them unstoppable." The Roman legion had paused for a moment, but the habits of preparation and order were still visible. Officers checked their lines, men tightened their grips on shields and spears, and the drums echoed a disciplined rhythm that reinforced cohesion. Even in the shadow of modern weapons, the rituals of the past guided them forward. Navarro reflected. The first lesson of ancient warriors was preparation. Every action, no matter how small, was practiced until it became instinct. In modern life and modern combat, the same principle applied. Habits repeated consistently built resilience and mastery. The soldiers of Rome didn't just wake up and fight. They had drilled, marched, and trained their bodies and minds for decades. Delgado, noticing Navarro's observation, asked quietly, "How do we match that?" Navarro looked at him, his eyes sharp in the night. "We match it with our habits. Focus, calm, repetition. Every action we take must be intentional, precise, and remembered." The Shadow Unit prepared their next move. They were not just fighting for survival, they were learning from history. Each decision was a lesson in discipline, adaptation, and endurance. As dawn approached, the desert began to glow with golden light. The Romans advanced again, their formation unbroken. Banners rose high, the sun glinting off helmets polished to a shine. The cadences of footsteps and marching chants became a rhythm that Navarro and his team could not ignore. It was hypnotic and terrifying, yet instructive. The modern soldiers unleashed precision fire, taking out key targets, yet they noticed the reaction. The Romans immediately adapted. New soldiers filled the gaps, and the advance continued. Navarro realized something profound. Habits created resilience. The ancient soldiers were trained to respond automatically, to follow drilled routines even under extreme stress. Modern technology could inflict damage, but it could not replace the deep-rooted habits that ensured continuity. Navarro thought aloud. Adaptation is a habit, just as much as strength or endurance. Santiago Rebus, the sniper, nodded. Every mistake they make teaches us something. Indeed, every action of the Romans highlighted the power of repetition and discipline. Navarro observed how officers moved among the ranks, reinforcing formation, correcting posture, and ensuring that each soldier's action aligned with the collective goal. Even when chaos struck, these habits maintained order. The Shadow Unit realized that leadership habits were timeless. Modern leaders could inspire through charisma or technology, but ancient habits of consistency, presence, and example were irreplaceable. Gracchus, the Roman general, moved among his soldiers, adjusting formations and giving commands not from panic, but from practiced routines that had been reinforced over countless campaigns. Delgado whispered, "They fight as one organism, not individuals." "Yes," Navarro agreed. "That is another lesson. Unity through habitual practice. Teamwork is born not just from orders, but from repetition, shared understanding, and trust in habits." The battle continued, but a new challenge arose. Ancient siege engines, massive ballistas, rolled forward. Navarro's team had seen these in textbooks, but seeing them live was different. The bolts were massive, precise, and deadly. Each machine operated by a team, trained to perfection in routines that maximized their efficiency. The operators used cover, recalculated distances, and adapted in real time. Navarro realized that observation and improvisation were also habits, skills honed through constant application. Modern soldiers had firepower, yes, but the Romans' habits of coordination and precision neutralized some of that advantage. The Shadow Unit prepared a countermeasure, an explosive trap disguised as abandoned equipment. As predicted, Roman curiosity drew officers toward it. When the detonation occurred, chaos erupted. Yet, even amidst carnage, the Romans reformed, the gaps filled, and the advance continued. Navarro took a deep breath, recognizing the ultimate lesson. Resilience under pressure is cultivated through habits. He spoke to his team. "Notice how quickly they recover. Each setback is temporary. They respond automatically because it's in their training. That's why habits matter more than raw power." The operators nodded, sweat streaming down their faces, hearts racing, but minds clear. Every maneuver, every calculation, every shot was reinforced by training. Modern habits meeting ancient wisdom. As midday approached, the sun cast sharp shadows across the desert. The Romans advanced with renewed intensity, their shield wall unbroken, their spears ready. Navarro studied them. There was no panic, no hesitation, just habit-driven efficiency. Each legionnaire knew his role, the sequence of actions drilled into muscle memory. Navarro realized that mental toughness was perhaps the most critical habit of all. Fear, stress, and exhaustion were obstacles, but the Romans' repeated conditioning allowed them to overcome instinctive panic. Modern soldiers had tools and weapons, but ancient mental habits created endurance that technology alone could not replicate. Delgado muttered, "They don't even seem human sometimes." Navarro smiled grimly. "They are human, but they are shaped by habits. That's the difference between good and exceptional. Habits transform potential into performance. As the shadow unit engaged, they applied the same principle. Each operator relied on drills, routines, and practiced reactions. They adapted quickly, coordinated silently, and maximized their advantage. This was not just combat. It was a lesson in translating historical habits into modern wins. The battle stretched on, hours passing like minutes. The desert floor was littered with remnants of confrontation, shattered shields, spent ammunition, and traces of human endurance. Navarro reflected on one final truth: consistency beats chaos. Habits, repeated over time, create strength that surpasses even the most advanced technology. By evening, the shadow unit had survived, and the Romans had endured. Both sides had demonstrated the power of habits: preparation, discipline, resilience, adaptation, and mental toughness. Navarro gathered his team. "Take note," he said. "Victory isn't just about weapons or speed. It's about habits. Ancient or modern, the principles remain. Focus, practice, discipline, endure. These are the secrets of those who win, then and now." The sun set, casting long shadows over the battlefield. Navarro's team packed up, their minds not just on survival, but on the lessons etched into history and sand. Ancient warriors had left a roadmap, a blueprint of habits that ensured success. Modern soldiers could learn, adapt, and apply them, not just in war, but in every challenge they faced. As they departed, Navarro thought about life beyond the battlefield. The same habits that made the Romans unstoppable could make anyone achieve their goals. Every repeated action, every disciplined routine, every calm response under pressure was a step toward victory. And so, the desert fell silent, but the lessons of ancient warriors echoed through time. Habits are the bridges between eras, the keys to mastery, and the foundation for modern wins. The shadow unit moved cautiously, their senses heightened, yet their minds absorbed every lesson the ancient warriors had etched into the battlefield. Navarro knew this encounter was more than survival. It was an education in habits that transcended time. Every move counts, he reminded his team. The Romans are not just disciplined, they are habitual. They train their bodies, minds, and reflexes to react without thought. That's why they are unstoppable. As the team descended into a natural depression in the desert, they observed the Romans reorganizing. The first wave had been disrupted by the explosive trap, yet the cohesion of the legions returned with terrifying speed. Navarro noted how quickly officers restored order, repositioned men, and filled the gaps in their formation. He realized that consistency and repetition in training create resilience, a principle as valuable in modern life as it was on ancient battlefields. Delgado, exhausted but alert, murmured, "Even with all our technology, they adapt faster than we anticipate." "Exactly," Navarro replied. "They respond automatically because it is habitual. Our advantage is firepower. Theirs is instinct honed by habit. Today's win depends on our understanding and application of these lessons." The team advanced carefully, using natural cover, planning each movement as they had been trained. Every step reflected modern discipline meeting ancient insight. Navarro reflected on another principle: mental preparation is as critical as physical readiness. The Romans had endured countless campaigns, conditioned to face fear without hesitation. Modern soldiers often relied on gadgets and strategy, but true strength came from mastering the mind under pressure. As the shadow unit reached a small ridge, Navarro surveyed the battlefield. Thousands of Roman soldiers advanced in precise formation, banners fluttering, shields locked, and weapons ready. The rhythm of their march echoed lessons in synchronization, teamwork, and focus. Each legionnaire acted as part of a larger organism, and Navarro realized the importance of collective habits in achieving extraordinary results. Santiago Rebus, scanning the ranks with his sniper scope, whispered, "Look at how seamlessly they move. Every soldier knows his role. Every officer reinforces the system. Navarro nodded. Habits aren't just personal, they are organizational. Modern teams can learn from this. Systems built on repeated practice create unstoppable momentum. Suddenly, the Roman archers launched a volley of arrows. The shadow unit took cover, but Navarro observed how the Romans had trained to maintain formation even under danger. Their resilience was a direct result of repeated exposure to stress and disciplined habits that allowed them to act without hesitation. Observe their focus, Navarro said. They do not panic. Every distraction is accounted for in their training. That's why their efficiency is unmatched. Delgado's eyes widened. It's like they are machines, but human machines. Exactly, Navarro replied. Machines without habits fail. Humans with habits endure. The battle intensified. Ballistas fired, arrows rained, and the Romans advanced relentlessly. Navarro's team fought back, but they understood that survival alone was not enough. Each action became a lesson. Precision, timing, and discipline were the keys to lasting impact. As the sun climbed higher, Navarro reflected on the ancient principle of rest and recovery. Even warriors trained for war needed deliberate pauses to regain strength and focus. Modern soldiers often ignored this, relying on adrenaline. Yet the Romans demonstrated the value of rhythm, pacing, and calculated exertion. Navarro instructed his team to maintain energy, rotate positions, and conserve resources. Hours passed. The shadow unit remained hidden, observing, engaging selectively, and learning. Navarro understood that the most important victories were not measured by immediate success, but by the knowledge gained through disciplined observation. The Romans, oblivious to the modern observers, continued their march with impeccable coordination, embodying lessons that transcended centuries. The midday sun scorched the battlefield, yet the ancient soldiers moved as if trained by instinct. Navarro realized that endurance and resilience were cultivated through repeated exposure to difficulty. Modern individuals could learn from this. The body and mind expand capacity only when habits are consistently tested under stress. Discipline is the backbone of success, Navarro told Delgado quietly. Whether ancient or modern, habits determine performance when it matters most. The team's attention was drawn to Lucius Aurelius Gracchus, the Roman general. Even amidst chaos, his presence commanded order. Navarro noted how leaders who embody habitual discipline influence entire teams. Leadership is more than giving orders. It's demonstrating consistency, calm, and strategy in action, Delgado whispered. Even in extreme danger, the Romans don't hesitate. Navarro nodded. That is the power of habitual courage. They don't act recklessly. They act because training made it natural. Habits replace fear with instinct. As afternoon approached, a tactical decision became clear. Navarro realized that survival depended not just on firepower, but on strategic application of learned habits. The team used terrain, timing, and diversion, principles drawn from both modern combat and the disciplined approach of ancient warriors. They deployed another controlled explosive, targeting a Roman advance. As the blast erupted, Navarro observed the reaction. The Romans, though momentarily disrupted, immediately restored formation. Navarro understood the final lesson of the encounter. Consistency and persistence outweigh momentary advantage. Habits create endurance, and endurance produces victories over time. The shadow unit regrouped behind a rocky outcrop. They were tired, but mentally sharper than ever. Navarro summarized the experience. Ancient warriors teach us that preparation, mental toughness, discipline, teamwork, and adaptability are timeless. Modern tools enhance power, but habits shape outcomes. He looked at each operator. Remember this day. The Romans' habits are more than historical. They are blueprints for modern success. Study, practice, and integrate these lessons into everything you do. The team silently acknowledged the wisdom. They had witnessed a collision of eras, modern skill meeting ancient discipline. The battlefield had become a classroom, and the Romans, unwitting teachers. Navarro knew that the true victory was not in defeating the enemy, but in learning from them. As dusk fell, the shadow unit prepared to retreat. They moved with precision, mirroring the disciplined habits they had observed. Even in withdrawal, their actions were deliberate, reflecting the lessons of both modern training and ancient wisdom. Navarro reflected one last time before leaving the battlefield. Habits define not just warriors, but people, teams, and civilizations. Preparation, endurance, observation, discipline, adaptation. These were the timeless principles that ensured survival and victory. In that desert, amid the clash of eras, Navarro's team realized something profound. Success is not about weapons, numbers, or technology alone. It is about the daily habits that shape thought, action, and resilience. Ancient or modern, these principles remain the key to wins in any era. The shadow unit drove away, the Romans still marching, banners raised, shields locked, and habits unbroken. Navarro allowed himself a brief smile. Lessons had been learned, and the echoes of ancient warriors would guide modern victories, in war, in life, and in every challenge they would face. Night began to settle over the desert. Navarro's team moved silently, vehicles humming softly, dust trailing behind. The Romans' disciplined march continued in the distance, unaffected by fatigue or setbacks. Every step, every action, reflected centuries of perfected habits. Navarro thought about what this meant, not just for soldiers, but for anyone seeking success in life. He spoke quietly to Delgado. This battle isn't just about survival. It's about understanding how habits create resilience. Every victory, whether on a battlefield or in life, is built on small, consistent actions repeated over time. Delgado nodded, exhausted but contemplative. The Romans, they embody it. They don't fight for glory alone. They fight because discipline is ingrained in their very being. Navarro smiled. Exactly. And that's the lesson we take forward. Modern tools are powerful, but habits make them meaningful. Strategy without practice, weapons without discipline, knowledge without action. None of it matters if the foundation isn't there. The team reflected on everything they had witnessed. The Roman legions demonstrated endurance, focus, teamwork, leadership, and adaptability. They had turned repetition into mastery, fear into instinct, and coordination into unstoppable power. Navarro realized that these same principles could be applied to modern soldiers and anyone striving to achieve greatness in any field. As they drove through the night, Navarro gave his final thoughts. Remember this. Wake up each day with purpose. Train your mind and body. Build habits that strengthen your focus, resilience, and discipline. Work as a team. Adapt when necessary. And always act with precision. Rebus, cleaning his weapon, added softly. Even with our technology, it's clear the true power lies in consistency and preparation. Navarro nodded. Yes, the Romans have been gone for millennia, yet their habits still speak louder than any weapon. And now, we've seen it firsthand. That's why history isn't just stories, it's a guide to modern wins. In the distance, a faint glow marked the end of the battlefield. Navarro looked back one last time, imagining the legions continuing their eternal march, each step a lesson in resilience and focus. He felt a quiet determination. The mission had changed them, not just as soldiers, but as people. They had glimpsed the power of habits, the invisible force behind all great achievements. Let's take these lessons with us, Navarro said, his voice steady. Not just for combat, but for life. Because whether it's ancient Rome or the modern world, success favors those who prepare, endure, and act with disciplined consistency. As the shadow unit disappeared into the night, the desert returned to silence. The echoes of marching sandals faded, but the lessons remained, eternal and unbroken. Habits, Navarro knew, were the ultimate weapon, timeless, invisible, and capable of creating victories far beyond the battlefield. And so, the story concludes, leaving a question for every viewer. What habits will you forge today to conquer your own battles tomorrow?